Welcome, pink ladies. Flowers make me happy. It's the little things in life. And here we are in the same, or are we? That is the question. Are you feeling the shift? Are you ready for change? Are you going to embrace and seize the day? Carpe diem. Seize your life. Carpe vida, right? Because this is, they say it's a new year. It's not quite right because this is actually just the new fiscal year. It's not the official new year, not according to astrology, not according to nature. Here in the Northern Hemisphere is still considered winter, which is usually reflection. It is, winter is when we hibernate. We're not really meant to be go, go, go. But these cults of personality, these social experiments that we've been indoctrinated into, basically go, you're supposed to, you were raised to think this is just the way we do it. Never questioning why. Or even going, you know what, this doesn't really work for me. I mean, most life crises, most breakdowns are the breakthrough to recognizing that this cookie cutter world, it doesn't serve us all. It does not foster your creativity. It does not encourage you to be in your personal power. Hello, 144. It doesn't actually support you. It expects you to support it, to feed it. The matrix, the system. That which most people don't even know what's controlling us. Although you're aware something's not quite right. How could you not be aware? Something's not quite right. And usually it's because something within you wasn't in alignment. It wasn't quite right within you that everything ripples out. It is a as within, so without. We sow the seeds of love. If there's no love within, how can you have love around you? Everything starts with self. Power versus Force by David R. Hawkins. Perfect book for the beginner to really just dive in and see what exactly is going on within you. What is your power? Can you tap into it versus forcing, making things happen to support you? The matrix, matrix. Ma means mother. Matrix actually means womb. We all come from the womb, the hive. And ma being mother and tricks, tricks are for kids. But you know what? Kids are usually more attuned to the tricks than the adults that were once children who could see through them. So it's all of this indoctrination, this programming, this cycle that we're all waking up and going, wait a minute, something's not right here. Something doesn't settle right. Like you what they call a midlife crisis. What is it really? For anybody out there, have you had or gone through a midlife crisis? Do you know what that is? Do you know what that really is? It's your soul screaming and saying, we're not in alignment. We're not on the path that was destined for us. We're on someone else's path. Their war path. Their war rant against us. We can play with the words all around. So this is a year for slowing down. If you haven't noticed over these several past years, we've gotten kind of a little bit of insight into the necessity of slowing down, observing, being the witness, participating, but not getting lost and stuck in the midst of the participation, the engagement. You can be a part of this world and not of it. You can play a role, but not actually let it suck you in and suck the life out of you. It's this fine dance, this balancing act. Juggling. 1 foot in, 1 foot out. You're actually both feet in, whether you think you're one in and one out. Because this is a world of duality. This is a world of contrast. The matrix, the matrix, the mother of all tricks, is that we created this for us. You can point all those fingers out, make all these assumptions and making an ass out of you and me, but the reality is you have to take personal accountability and responsibility for your participation in this. You're part of the creation. We are the creators of our own creation. The true wisdom is an acknowledgement of, wow, everything I've done, everything I've experienced, it started within me. And sometimes unconsciously, partially from previous life and past knowledge, experience, and some from this life and what we witnessed. And we mimicked the mirror effect. We are the products of our environments. Cancer doesn't happen from like just random, oh, you know, it's in my genes. That's a belief system. That's what that is. Cancer is a belief. Sometimes it's because somebody in your family got it. You just assume that because they got it, you're going to get it. Or the other belief system is something is eating you up from the inside out. Cankerous. Until you address it, if you keep suppressing it, it will continue to express itself in a way that is vying for your attention. And if you don't give it the attention it deserves and needs to nurture it, to clear it, to love it, the cancer grows. Cancer is essentially a self-hate. I hate myself for allowing that situation. I hate myself for that person that I claim to hate them, but it's really the boomerang effect. You can't hate another without hating yourself. And when you hate yourself, you essentially can't love another fully. You know, there's so much programming, whether it's religion of, you know, think of others first, but who thinks of me? There's so much hypocrisy. There's so much paradox. In all the years of being around, being in the Catholic religion, I used to get really confused and go, if everybody has to think about everybody else, who's thinking about them? Like it's like this ghost effect. Like I don't exist except for others, and they exist for others, but they don't exist for me? Explain that to me. Really bring this into focus. I'm like, what? Like you really have to dive a little deeper and question, even in those crevices that nobody's willing to articulate or bring to the surface, and say, I'm just going to say what everybody else isn't saying, that maybe they've kind of thought about, but they were afraid to ask because they were afraid what they would be thought of. Oh my gosh, what would people think if I said that? Who cares? Most of those people that hear you say it, they're not going to be around. They don't have anything to do with your life. They're just part of the witness. And reality is that everybody, every one of us is part of us. We are one in the sense that we're all aspects of the one having individual experiences. And without each other, how would we feel we were witnessed? So we essentially witness ourselves through the eyes of another. It's the interplay. It's that you say something and I have a thought, or I have a response, or I have a knee-jerk reaction. It's revealing itself. This is the revelation, that in the interaction and the engagement with another through relationship, that's how we deepen our into me, I see, the intimacy with ourselves as well as with others. But the majority of it is for you, for you. It's just an enhancement that someone else gets to go through it with you. It's kind of like having accessories. They make your life a little bit more blingy, a little bit more showy, complementary. We want the accessories that accentuate the positive. And sometimes we have accessories that accentuate the negative, and you know, we're finding that balance. So when someone else reveals to you some trigger, that's your work to do. If you get charged, upset by something someone says, it's not what they said that's the issue. It's how you responded or reacted to it. That revealed what is still unhealed within you. So any reaction, repeated action, RE, action, is showing a pattern. So if you recognize, again, cognize, repeating the awareness, cognition, mental acuity, whatever you recognize, you see it again, that's an opportunity to glean from the lesson. Repeated patterns, repeated situations are opportunities served up on a platter. Are you going to see it for the lesson it is, or are you going to keep on repeating it? Patterns in life, fractals, repeating themselves. That is us. And if you can't see God in all, you can't see God at all, because God is in all. God is within and without. The paradox is people want to say that there's good and evil, as if they don't exist because of the other, that they're not part of the whole. The biggest problem is that we can't find that neutral spot until we acknowledge the evil within ourselves. When you can make peace with that which you don't even want to be admitting of, that you don't want to acknowledge, because that, oh my gosh, evil can't be within me, it's got to be outside of myself. That's no different than you saying, oh, God's outside of me and not within me. Until you recognize the God within you, you will continue to see all that you think is wrong with the world around you, because that's what you're not looking at in yourself. Beautiful. And so evil within is recognizing that there's an aspect of yourself that you have a deep disgust, a deep hatred towards, that actually deserves your love. That which you are unwilling to find resolution with again, a resolution, a repeated solution. When you acknowledge it's a belief, it's just a story, then you can start to unravel, pull this thread and see what unravels. What does it reveal again? Unveiling, presenting, giving you an opportunity to acknowledge that that belief is not serving you. That in 2025, this is the year where you take the wisdom of the previous years, you slow down enough to recognize the lesson being served up on a platter, and all the blessings and all the gifts and all the beauty for you now to experience and receive the fruits of your labor. How many of us have been like on the wheel, repeatedly dying over and over again to be reborn once and once again? This is the beauty of this life, is that you are reborn every single morning. You are reborn every second of the day, every moment that you come into awareness of self. A rebirth is again being repeated, birthed again. That acknowledgement that, wow, I am a divine being. I created this. I might not know how. I don't have the details, but I feel it in every fiber of my being, that my soul is lit because I came here to have all of these experiences, not to place judgment on them and say they're good or they're bad, because the experience itself is what navigates and guides you along your path. And if you're not on your path, and I love to use the body as the beautiful GPS, the spine is your alignment with the mind. The body will always tell on the mind because it's a tattletale. Anything that manifests in the body as the form of dis-ease is showing the misalignment with the mind. You might have a belief system or a story you tell yourself that's a lie to the body. And the body's even telling you, kinesiology is like, tension, you go weak. Because, and this is the best thing to really test yourself. You can do this without anybody telling you how. There's different ways that you can use kinesiology. You can use your own fingers together in a circle, like hooking each other. And you're going to ask yourself, what is my name? Okay, my name is Lana. Get strong, right? You have to test it with something that's strong first. And then you can ask yourself, okay, my name is Lana. It's strong. I'm not a human. I'm a rose. Well, it'll come weak. It just doesn't stick. But the body is always telling on the mind, which is why I like to say the spine is your foundation. It's your belief system. It's a reflection of how flexible are you in this life? Are you able to see past your own shit? Or is your bullshit, your belief system, so rigid that that's all you can see? And so when you can't see past yourself, it creates this tension. Like your back is like, oh, why am I so out of alignment? Well, because you're not on your path and you're not tapping within. Now, I can say this from my personal experience because I've dealt with chronic spinal issues, chronic neck issues. So I teach from my personal experience. I will tell you what I know to be true for me and what I have personally witnessed and experienced in my own life. Plenty of people out there, they can teach you from a book. It's not wisdom until you've integrated it. True wisdom is tapping in to your body, your mind, your spirit, and your soul. And your spirit is your breath. Your soul is a part of your heart. And it's not like in any particular part of your body. The soul is eternal. Just like your feet touch the earth and leave soul prints. So this would be a short video. I noticed a lot of trolling going on. It's all good. Thank you very much, Juan44, for tracking and taking care of the ish. It is 2025. This is the year for you to step into the wisdom of observer. If you haven't already done this, as you begin to do it, you'll start to see the synchronicities sync up and line up. You'll start to recognize the beauty in thinking and witnessing the instant manifestation. That everything you've done up to this point is finally going to be served to you. But you have to be willing to allow it and also willing to receive it. We can all say how much we desire something, want something, think we deserve it, but at the same time have this demoting storyline and internal dialogue that says, no, you're not. That's not for you. You don't deserve that. But whose voice is that in? Is that actually in your own voice, or is it in someone else's voice? Again, slow down and listen. Take notes. Write in your journal. What you observe is a reward for your presence. That's why they call it the gift of the now. When you are present, you present yourself. You receive the wisdom in the moment. The more present you can be, the more gifts you receive, the more open to your gifts in this life of your beingness. And that in itself provides the beauty of receptivity, because your presence opens the channel to receive, to witness, to observe, to participate, and what goes out comes in. And again, where attention goes, energy flows, and your focus grows. You are the creator of your life. And P-Man, you can say whatever you interpret to what I said about Cancer. That was not what I said. You might want to, it would really behoove you to go back and listen fully. I'm expressing that most people that I've been in contact with and witnessed on their deathbeds, especially, I watched my grandmother, I watched my dad's wife, my stepdad. I've watched people pass from cancer. And I also know their hearts. Cancer is a choice. It's normally an unconscious one, though. It's not one that someone says, I want cancer. That's not what I'm talking about. This goes deeper than you just surface, being dismissive. If you are conscious and an awareness of yourself, then you understand when you deserve and when you need care. You can't know self-care unless you're aware. You have to be in awareness of thyself. Ooh, you know what? I'm tired. I need to rest. Why do people need to get to the point where they turn around and say, oh my gosh, I'm a victim of being sick now? The reality is you got all the signs, you were given all the symptoms. You just didn't want to listen. You chose to ignore your own inner wisdom, your own inner guidance system. So if your body is weak, if you're eating things just because I can, and you're doing your own self-sabotage, like as if there's an authoritarian over you telling you you can't have something, which is another addictive quality that a lot of people have, is they can hear someone's voice in their head that says you shouldn't eat that. You can't eat that. So because of the oppositional defiance that's embedded in them, that's emotional immaturity, by the way, because if you think you need to prove something, even half the time people don't realize they're doing it to themselves. You're choosing to put something in your body that you know full and well doesn't make you feel good. This is the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. Or expecting that, oh, because I just want to. So it's like, wow. Did I choose it? Did I choose it? That is a question. But how conscious are you of your choices? Because most people are very unconscious. And so therefore, they're not aware that they even chose it. And then they proceed to play the victim. Oh my gosh, I'm sick. But you're not tapping in and honoring this vessel, this beautiful temple that is your body. You think it's a freaking, an amusement park to just take advantage or throw it out there and whatever you do with it. Do unto thyself as you would do unto another. Do unto another as you would want done unto yourself. Golden rule. Now, I'm not saying everybody's good with the golden rule, because maybe their way of treating someone isn't the greatest, nor of themselves. This is the key. It's in the awareness of self that you recognize the beauty of, wow, this is how I have been thinking. This is how I have been feeling. The thoughts create the feelings and the emotions that we're reeling. Are we a victim of our circumstances, or just the fact that we create our stories? Because everything's a story. So you can say whatever you want to say, but what do you got to back it up? Does it have substance? Or you just want to chat because you want to be talking and you want to hear the sound of your own voice. You want other people to see you and to validate what it is you say. Yes, I do believe my body is a beautiful temple. And you don't have to agree with me. That just shows your level of awareness. Your awareness shows how much you're in your careness. Do you care? Do you really care? Because if you don't think like that, that shows maybe that you could really benefit from caring more rather than avoidance behavior. It's easier to point fingers out, but baby, you got 3 fingers pointing back. So what you spot in another, you got in yourself. You spot it, you got it. And their actions and words will always tell on you. Most of the time, and like I like to say, we're a bunch of monkeys running around with unresolved, unhealed trauma, flinging shit at one another, expecting the other person to figure it out for you and not communicating. So everybody wonders why their life is a shit show, because they're shit shows and they're the only ones unaware of it. When you become aware of yourself, then you'll recognize your own shit. And when you own your shit shit won't show so much, and your life will cease to be a shit show. Or you can keep running around like those crazy monkeys flinging shit at one another, but don't expect everybody to fling shit back at you and play that little game. So life is really beautiful. And I personally, I'm a trickster. I love to joke. I love to play. I mean, this is why we're here. Is how many of you remember when you were a kid and you would be outside At least I grew up outside. I'm not saying everybody has that luxury. But growing up outside and wanting to play in the woods and just out in the fields and pick wild fruit and berries and what have you. And then to go and to be told, but you have to come in. No, I don't want to. You have to stop playing. No, I don't want to. How many of us grew up being told what to do and saying, I can't wait till I'm an adult because then I can decide when I get to stop playing. By the time most people became adults, unfortunately, they lost their inner child that loves to play. And as an adult, they forgot that the whole point of becoming an adult was so that they could continue to play and not be told when to stop. This is the paradox and the irony of how we've all been. I have not lost my inner child, baby. Trust me. My inner child is still playful as ever. And this is part of my gift, is to remind people you need to learn how to play, and not in a way that's obnoxious and condescending or attacking people, because that's a bad sense of humor. And typically when people bully or pick on others, it's because they were bullied and picked on. And some people's sense of humor is not necessarily the most healthy. Every life is a paradox. You can, yours, mine, who owns what, right? So again, this is the irony. You grow up, you become an adult, and you're like, you forgot about the part where you kept on saying, I can't wait till I become an adult so that I can play. And I'll finish when I'm done. The form of play that most adults have these days when you become a certain age, even before you're of so-called age, you turn it into, I'm just going to go out and drink myself into a stupor. Oh, I get more courage when I have alcohol in my body, when they don't realize the spirits that alcohol invokes and invites into your holy temple, your body. Now, I'm not saying you can't drink. I'm not judging. I just know my personal experience and how embarrassing looking back on some of those experiences were. That, wow, I didn't have any self-control. I got into situations that unfortunately were not healthy. And we all have to recognize whether or not we are behaving from an emotionally mature place, or we're actually coming from the evasive, the escapist route. Like, if I don't pay attention over here, it's called cognitive dissonance. If I don't pay attention, it doesn't exist. This is what they teach you in Psych 101, psychology. Basic psychology of babies can't see it. They don't think it exists. You know how they go, boo, and they start laughing? The only thing different about an adult and a baby with cognitive dissonance is the fact that a baby is still laughing and finds it funny because it's a peekaboo. Like, where did it go for just the split second? And then they start to learn through that. As adults, the cognitive dissonance is, if I don't think, if I don't see it, it can't be true. Or if I don't look, maybe it'll go away and it won't be true. Like, I didn't see that, but I'm still looking at it. It's kind of like the sick psychosis that when you're driving on the highway and you see lights and you see an accident and you see traffic, you got people like this. I gotta say, like, the irony, the blood and gore theory. Like, I don't want to see a dead body, but boy, maybe. Like, nobody really wants to admit the fact that they really want to see it because they feel like they have this story that what would people think if I turn around and admit I'd like to see it. There's some weird stuff that people allow to hold them back from being authentic. So again, this year, I personally suspect that a lot of us are going to start to see the fruits of our labors. You're going to start to recognize that when you think of someone, you're going to run into them. I have that happen all the time anyway. And especially because I know how to establish a flow and recognize, oh, you know what? I'm feeling called to go down the street to the juice bar. Okay, I'll go in there. And there's somebody I've been thinking about. Or I went for a walk the other day and I hadn't seen a neighbor for several months and I wondered, did something happen to them? Well, it turned out I ran into them the other day and it turned out they had moved from our area a little further inland. And I was like, wow, I was so grateful that I got to see them and nothing had happened. So I knew they were safe and they were okay because we had 2 back-to-back hurricanes over here. So again, I'm gonna recap here. If these past several years haven't taught you anything, you need to slow down, become the observer, pay attention, because your attention, where attention goes, energy flows, and that's what keeps it going and growing, is your thoughts are the currency that pay literally for your experience. If you are recognizing that everything your focus goes to, it grows it. So if you really want to have something happen, you need to put attention toward it, to focus on it, but also journal on it, sit in a state and recognize, what does it feel like when that happens? What is it I truly want to manifest? Because the manifestation has to start with a feeling. The feeling is what's going to reel it in. And so notice where repetitive patterns are appearing for your awareness as well. Like I was saying, the RE in front of words is a repeat. Your reflection, you're seeing it again. You remember it. It's coming back to be a part of you, or you choose that doesn't serve you. So those patterns that repeat themselves are giving you another opportunity to say, I think I've outgrown it, and this contract is finished. Thank you for reminding me, memory again, what it was that you have served me with. You've served, everything that we've done in the past has served us to get us to where we're at right now. And so the other thing about the awareness being necessary for self-care, because you can't know yourself without knowing what you need and observing and being mindful, like, oh my gosh, my back hurts. Maybe I need a massage. Maybe I need to take some magnesium. Maybe I just need a little exercise and movement, because movement is medicine. You got to lube up the joints, because if you don't move your body, there's a groove. And that's another thing I like to talk about. Belief systems and habits and patterns. They create like a record player. For those of you old enough to remember what a record player is, a record, a CD too, they have grooves within them. And the more that it's playing, the more the grooves are being deepened. No different than your beliefs, your stories, your habits, your daily routines, and your patterns. Repetition is the key to mastery. If you want to change something, you have to be willing to do things differently. Change is not going to occur by you doing the same thing over and over again, unless it's a new pattern that you're trying to deepen a new groove. Because those old grooves need to be moved. If you don't move it, you'll lose it. So again, grooves that are deep within you take a little harder, longer time to remove and reintroduce a new groove. So like you can create a new groove, a new pattern of movement. And whenever you're moving the body, by the way, when you use the arms cross the midline of the body, you are repatterning the neurology, the hemispheres of the brain. It's creating the firing that's wiring the new patterns and the habits and routines. So it's through these, let me try something different. Let me drive a different route to go to such and such. Let me walk a different neighborhood. Of course, everything requires this tapping into self and listening to your intuition. Like, where am I feeling guided to go in this moment? Am I going to stick around and just twiddle my thumbs? Maybe I'll meditate, because you can go someplace without leaving your home too. But looking at your patterns and seeing what is the common theme, and maybe even questioning, do I do this because it serves me? like everything serves. You wouldn't do it if it didn't serve you in some way, shape, or form. And so there are 5 basic human needs. The first 3, of course, are very similar, very simple, and the other 2 have a little bit more of a spiritual awareness and a rising up of your vibration. It only constitutes satisfying 3 of your basic human needs to constitute an addiction, which is why sometimes it's just second nature for you. The second nature could be something that is promoting or demoting. It may be serving, it may not be serving. It's up to you to observe and see what needs an adjustment and where maybe you need to course correct. This is emotional maturity. It is taking personal accountability and responsibility for your choices, conscious and unconscious, because we've all made choices without realizing I made a choice without even making a choice. See? Even not making a choice is a choice. That's the point, is you have to acknowledge, where in my life have I made choices that took me off my path? How can I get back on my path? Sit down and journal. What is it that I need to take as my next step of action? Or maybe even, do I need to take a step back and just observe? Again, slow down. Become part of the witness and the participant at the same time. Don't feel obliged to answer people's questions. The one thing people fail to recognize is that when someone asks them a question, 9 times out of 10, they answer it. They never question the intention and the motive behind the question. They never ask, does this person deserve? Are they entitled to me? Have I given that much of myself to them that they deserve me to respond? A great example here in the United States. What's your social security number? Like when I was growing up, you were never supposed to be just laissez-faire and give it to anybody and everybody who asked for it. In fact, the only places you were supposed to use a social security were government agencies. And even there, you didn't have to give it. The social security, which is a security account. What is a security? What is a security? Go look that up, just on a side note. So at what point did people start giving their social security away to the banks and all of these institutions? Oh, we need it. Well, people assume they need it, but they don't. If you don't start questioning things and you just keep on going along with the status quo, you ever stop to look around and wonder, well, why does it feel like something's off? Because we stopped being accountable. We stopped asking questions. In fact, we never questioned the questions we were asked. We were just, oh, here's all my information. And then you're wondering why there's identity theft. You wonder why these apps are stealing all your information and your identity and your data, that you are the data, you are the commodity, that we literally are chattel being traded on the stock market. That's what they did with cattle. We all have an identification tag. It's called the Social Security number. If you don't stop and ask and start getting wiser about, well, wait a minute, what's your intention? You're asking me a question. What makes you worthy? Why do I need to answer that question? Show me where it says I have to give that to you. If you don't start giving pushback, you'll become a pushover. That's really what that is. And it goes back to boundaries, having a strong foundation and knowledge of self. Again, it's awareness of self. Awareness and self-care go hand in hand. And that's in every aspect of your life. It's not just taking care of your body temple, but these extensions of you, which is the identity in this matrix, where we've all been bamboozled into this system of compliance and not recognizing, oh shit, they don't deserve that information. Wait a minute here. What are they doing with that information? And most people have no clue about the fact they're taking your social security number and stealing from you. The social security number is your estate. They are literally trespassing against our estates and stealing from our credits, because the full faith and credit is backed by the United States government. They are supposed to have paid for all of our debts. But what's wrong with this picture that we are literally enslaved into the system, and that even electricity isn't generated? It's not an unlimited, it's not a limited resource. This system was already set up before us. They're stealing it from the ether. They're using the real technology to create energy and electricity. But if you go and you create a free energy device, they'll come knocking on your door because they've got the rights to the FCC, you know, the frequency that it has to ride on. So you think you're paying for electricity from an electric company, but in reality, they're just basically collecting money from you, which you are the investor of their company, but they're still stealing from your estate. And then you're paying them on top of that. They're not just double dipping either, by the way, because they take more money in there because you gave them your signature that said you signed over security interest. You gave them permission. Until you take away the power of attorney and you stop, you rescind all of those security agreements, they're going to continue to do it to all of us. It's just a small little snippet. It's another side thing that I'm working on. I've been working on for a while. And it's the reason I have been a little bit less on YouTube. And I do apologize because God knows I've got tons of wisdom and all these wonderful drop-ins. And I miss doing these lives because we're here to get it right. Like to really get our shit together. Not playing the victims and not acting like we're the victims of our circumstances or that there's this big bad wolf that's doing this stuff to us. It's us doing it to us. That's what 2025 to me is going to be. The people who step into their power are going to finally receive the fruits of their labor. The people who keep on whining about how somebody else is doing it to them are going to continue to receive that and have some huge, horrible wake-ups as a result of it. Because if you keep going along to get along, you're going to be the pushover. You don't give pushback, you become a pushover. It's really as simple as the language spells, black magic sorcery with the words that they choose. Anything and everything that has to do with the government and courts, they've already got you at a disadvantage because they're speaking in another language and you never even realize that. Most people are still fighting and angry about it. But here's the thing. You can't master something. You can't master any game unless you learn the rules. But this is the hypocrisy and the idiocracy of most people out there not recognizing they're fighting a system. They don't even know the rules to the game. And all they're doing is exhausting themselves and they're looshing off of your energy because that's what they do. They're literally feeding off of your essence. So the more you get upset and you don't actually learn, you don't actually like reverse engineer their bullshit, the more you are the one who you lose out. They don't. Because a hidden hand never gets dirty. It's got a bunch of us running around doing it for them. People who say, oh, well, I got to do what I'm told because this is my job. Well, you're supporting the same system that you have problems with too. We have to find that happy medium where we, the people, come back together. There's a reason they say we, the people, because it's not supposed to be, it's me, one of the people. No, together we stand, divided we fall. This is the key to unlocking it all. That when you don't know something, don't assume it. I grew up with a mother who used to say this every time. If you don't know the definition of a word, go look it up in the dictionary. I have dictionaries my mom sent me over the years. She was phenomenal with words. And she would literally break them down. Like writing down on a sticky note, don't look where you don't want to go. And she crossed out, do not. She crossed out the not. You know what was left? Do look where you want to go. See, the system has us with these negating words, which actually create an attraction. So although you may say something in a negative, until you remove the negative and just straightforward, clean up your language. Where attention goes, energy flows. If you're focused on what you don't want, that's exactly what you're feeding. Where attention goes, energy flows, and that's what grows. Because your focus is on what grows. If you're focusing on directly, instead of the I don't want this, what do you want? This is the challenge I'm putting out there for all of you. Stop focusing on the I don't want that to happen again. I don't want that. And ask yourself, this is a simple exercise, piece of paper, pen. What do I really want? I know what I don't want. And if you have to, write out all that, what you don't want. And then on the other side of the paper, put, what do I want to put in place of that? And put that on a board. Create a vision board of that. Get rid of the negating words and simply focus on what it is you do want, what you want to replace the don't want. Because until you clear the slate, clean that slate of all that demoting self-talk, because that's a lot of people's programs going on. Like, most people don't realize they got a record player of stories in their head, their BS belief systems. All that's running back here is the stuff that you're not willing to confront, but it's actually what's running your show. It's running your life. And until you clean the slate of that, address it, don't suppress it, because otherwise it expresses itself. So, okay, so now I know what this chatter is back here. It's telling me all the things I don't want. Now I can be clear on what I do want. Like, use the pen. The catharsis that comes from writing is just getting it out of your system. And then writing down the clean slate of what you do want. That in itself, that'll shift your life right there. If you're willing to put in the work, and it's not even that hard. You can't know what you need until you become aware. So if you can't know what care you need without being aware, because you have to know thyself. You have to be willing to get to know yourself intimately. Like, I teach this stuff, but every once in a while I have a moment where I'm like, wow, I see the hesitation, I see the resistance. And being in that awareness of it actually empowers me more, because I acknowledge it rather than ignore it or deny it. Like, wow, there were a couple weeks where I was really going through this stepping into a different space, this shift that I'm going through personally. I was like, wow, I'm seeing myself trying to, not that I was avoiding it, because I sat down and I wrote about how I know that I will deal with this when the timing is right, when I feel the inspiration, the spirit moves within me, when I also feel I receive, because a lot of times when I have this hesitation, or not resistance, it's like something has me holding off, and then something drops in to reinforce what it is I need to address it, to pursue it, like writing letters and different documents that I've had to deal with. And it's worked out beautifully, because then it was like, well, that explains, it wasn't that I was resisting it. It was that this information needed to come in for me to be able to strengthen my documentation, to strengthen what I was writing, supportive evidence, for example. And so I see there's a silver lining in everything. There is never an opportunity. You never miss an opportunity if you're willing to recognize there's a silver lining there. Somebody is always providing you feedback, because we are mirrors for one another. Again, reflection is that mirror coming back to you. And I wrote that down. What did I say? I said, everything you see originates from within you. So I wrote this down before, because I always do my little notes. Mindfulness is the practice of being present, right? So mindfulness is becoming still and observing the inner workings of your mind. Sometimes it's like, wow, where'd that thought come from? Ooh, wow, ooh. So to the point where when you become intuitive enough, you start to notice, wow, actually that thought, I don't own that thought, because it's not all yours, because we do have a collective consciousness. So there are times you're going to pick up on thoughts that aren't yours, that is part of the collective, or your neighborhood even, where you're like, wow, that's a weird thought. But also in acknowledgement of that thought doesn't mean you have to attach to it. See, this is part of the mindfulness. We're not here to attach to things. We're here to learn how to discern what warrants our energy, because your energy is precious. And we need to be more, not just discerning, but we need to invest wisely with our energy, because that's the precious commodity that we are being harvested for, is our energy, our focus, our emotions. The world we're living in today, it relies on us. It would not, you need living beings to bring things to life, contracts and everything else. Most of what we're dealing with are a bunch of dead entities. Another conversation for another topic. So again, mindfulness is the practice of slowing down, becoming still in the moment. Again, that's the present. And observing from the inside out. What is it I'm feeling within that is creating all the stuff around me? Again, that reflective like a mirror. Everything you see around you started within you. You are the magnet. In your microcosm, you are the center of your life. You are the star of your own life show, if you choose so to be, or be an extra in someone else's and revolve around someone else. But we are really essentially at the core, the nucleus of our experience. And everybody else is for theirs. And so when you recognize that it's starting within you, then you can see, oh, wow, now I can see and connect the dots of how this occurred around me. This is why we say everything around us is providing us feedback, like a mirror, to reflect upon, to receive the glimmer of insight and of light, the guidance and the wisdom that steers us on our path, keeps us on our course. This is the beauty of being in this life, is we get to choose. But the more conscious you are, the more present you are, observing and participating, it becomes more of a wow, ooh, ah. It's beautiful because you get to choose instead of acting like you're not the one choosing when you always are. And then we created this matrix, the Ma, the womb, the mother of tricks. There's a little jester in all of us, if you can acknowledge that's the play. That's the playful beingness. That's our inner child. And even when you're feeling kind of lonely or slumpish or, like, oh, melancholy, that's also just your inner child saying, I need a little bit of like TLC. I need a little acknowledgement. Hey, did you forget about me? We're not playing. Sometimes it's just as simple as recognizing, when did I stop playing? When did I stop dancing? When did I stop singing? When did I stop doing the things I loved so much? Getting lost in nature, creating, inventing. That's at the core of your being. That's why we're here. Play. A return to play. So if we can recognize that we are the creators of our own creation, then why are we so surprised when we think of somebody and they show up, or that the synchronicity of revelations as we awaken to ourselves? It's like, wow, I was just thinking about that and there it is. Like, surprise! The more you start to acknowledge the fact that, yes, that was you. Yes, you did that. Yes, you are a powerful manifester. That you brought that into experience. That's where the real magic is. And Carl is asking, please explain the difference when knowing you are in your movie and someone else's. Are you doing it from your internal self, genuinely for the enjoyment of your heart? Like, we can participate with others and sometimes be consumed by them. I would say the major difference between being the star in your own, and we'll take a second, a back seat to people to allow them to be elevated, to allow their experience to be uplifted. And sometimes that's part of our being that main star in our own movie, even if it appears that that other person is the one on display, if that makes sense. But in the unhealthy sense, when you're someone else's extra, I would say it's more like it sucks you of your life force energy. It doesn't feel authentic. You're having to play a role that's not yours. It's not authentic to your heart and soul. That's the extra. The extra is just going along because they have a fear of abandonment. They have a fear of rejection. They don't know how to be true to themselves because all they know is to people please. The star of your own show, you are recognizing that you being authentic also enforces and influences and inspires others to do the same for themselves. It's about as simple as I can make it. At least that's what I've observed. So, our indoctrination has convinced us to compare ourselves, there you go, rather than accept and appreciate ourselves, to praise our gifts, our talents and abilities. That disconnect is what causes our suffering and why most of us reject our own magic. So accepting and appreciating ourselves is what elevates and uplifts us. Whereas when we're disconnected and we're comparing, like, oh gosh, why am I not like that person? That's what, it dampens our light. It puts our fire out. That's what creates disconnect, because we're not connected to ourselves. We're outside of ourselves. We've placed ourselves overlap to compare to that other individual, that other person, instead of recognizing, wait a minute, why am I doing that? Each of us is unique. I admire qualities about them, but if you can recognize your comparison as you comparing you to you, that's a little bit of a mind fuck. But the truth is when you think you're judging or comparing yourself to someone else, what you're doing is seeing within them, as they demonstrate, aspects of yourself you either like or dislike. You either reject or accept. So every comparison is a judgment of yourself. It's really that simple. And that comparison is creating your suffering because you're not acknowledging that, oh my gosh, why am I doing that to myself? Why would I do that to myself? When you point a finger out at someone else, you're actually breaking your own heart too. To compare or judge yourself against another, or to say you're comparing that other or judging that other, is really you on you. And that's the truth of it all. Melancholy plays upon the heartstrings to lock you into that frequency and try to keep you back in the past rather than the present. Can you recognize when that happens? Music is a great example. And then I see numbers moving through the elements like the cycle of life and repeating. It's just beautiful. It's music is numbers, is frequency, is vibration. The expression that turns into colors, it turns into objects. It's all connected and you cannot separate them. Because energy is constant, in motion. It is fluid. Even though you see me on the screen, everything is touching and there is no separation. It's just the difference in the frequency and vibration. The energy that we admit and emit. And I always like to say, Jesus, there's a lot of people who talk about Jesus. Je suis, I am, in French. Just little plays with words. Just like kinks. Kinks are addiction to broken links. I was reflecting on that the other day. I had a coaching session and I was reading and I was like, kinks. Ooh, addiction to broken links. There's an unhealed aspect of ourselves that has an attraction to a kink because something was broken in our links. And I'm not saying broken in the sense that it needs to be fixed. It's just unacknowledged. Because that's all of our traumas are, is just unresolved and unacknowledged. It's just we fragmented ourselves from what was whole. Because we all came into this life completely whole. We didn't need fixing. We didn't need a bunch of shit, jabbed into us. But, that's been normalized. Oh, we're going to try to save you. Wait a minute. I'm sorry. God's creation made it in his image and you're going to tell me that I wasn't perfectly born? Okay. And that's all I got for you today. I hope you're all doing fabulous. I hope you're excited for creating a new life, rebranding yourself, re-envisioning, and just getting creative again, playing again. Enjoy the fruits of your labor. What have you been doing up to this point that now you can actually give yourself permission to allow and receive it? And again, if this is your first time watching me, my name is Lana Labonte, and I am here to uplift, inspire, support, and hopefully that empowers you to be the best version you are meant to be. That's what we're all here for, is to inspire one another, to uplift one another, to recognize that each of us is supporting and creating this life together. I am you, you are me, we are we. And on that note, I love you.